What up, everybody?
Now we should be going. What up, everybody?
Yay! What up, everybody?
Hello! Geeks, welcome! This is Ian and Sean. Jim's on his way. He had a shift this morning, and so he had to go do that. I have a shift this evening, so I'm gonna have to stop at 4:30. But we're here on the live stream,
We're here.
and
We don't want any more bears.
YouTube has been complaining to me about like the bitrate looking really weird, so if there's any problems, tell us and I'll mess with it. But as of right now, this is the first live stream we've done since we got 1,000 subscribers. Our Game Freak episode got 20,000 views and went a bit viral, and we are now monetized. And yeah, it looks
Now
like
Jim shows up, the star of the video in question.
star of the video in question. Okay.
What's going on?
Yeah, we were talking about the Game Freak video going to over 20K views.
Have you started streaming?
Yes, we have.
Okay, fantastic. How's my audio?
Your audio is good.
Fantastic.
We were able
Hi,
to
everybody.
jump in. All right, so I just changed the bitrate. YouTube was complaining to me. It's like, your bitrate looks weird. And I'm like, you know what, YouTube, I'm going to do... Yeah, it just said that. It's lower than the recommended bitrate. I'm just going to ignore that. I'm going to ignore that, and if there's problems, I will mess with it when it happens. So...
Yeah, YouTube, your bitrate looks weird.
Yeah. Your bitrate is lower. It's like, I just increased the bitrate, YouTube. Deal with it.
Your bitrate looks weird. Your bitrate is small and weak and pitiful.
Hey, now let's not bitrate shame.
Nah. Also, I love the things we've got going on. I've got the USS Enterprise. Jim has the Pokemon trainer for a video that has not gone live, and
Which
Sean's
is why I'm wearing it.
yeah, and Sean's
I
got
figured it'd be-
a generic black shirt. Anyway,
Yeah, so I thought this would be fun. So for future viewers, we just last week filmed a short, and I purchased this shirt specifically for the short. It was funny because Ian was like, "Wear something a Pokemon trainer would wear." I'm like, "I don't know what I wear," so I went to GameStop. And I'm like, "Oh hey, Ian, how's this?"
I mean that's pretty good. How's the audio looking? My audio is peaking a little bit, so I'm gonna decrease that just a tad.
It sounded fine to me. I'm wearing my shirt in protest of a terrible movie that was made because we should make the Flash great again.
We
I never
should.
actually got around to seeing it. Was it bad?
It was like mediocre at best.
I think the problem is, and I haven't seen it because I'm kind of really burned out on DC films until James Gunn takes over. But from what I've heard, they've basically redone this script like 20 times. That basically they went into production in 2013 when they were deciding what to do with the Justice League and the Batman v Superman, and they've tooled, retooled, and I've heard you can kind of like chart the entire course of DC's course correction over the course of the film. So it's like, oh, this is when Guardians of the Galaxy came out. Oh, this is when Deadpool came out. Oh, this is when they started with Infinity War, and you can see how like they just constantly switch directions with the movie. And then of course there's Nicolas Cage.
Nicolas Cage. Oh, not just Nicolas Cage, but Nicolas Cage fighting a giant fucking spider.
Which, that's not even a DC thing. That's just... That's Kevin
That's
Smith.
Kevin Smith
Yeah. Literally, it was
talking about DC.
It was a joke that Kevin Smith made about this crazy-ass producer, and then DC was just like, oh, let's just throw that in there for no good reason.
Yeah, if anything, it's a Wild Wild West reference, if anything.
Yeah. Oh, God, that is Wild Wild West, isn't it? So, yeah, Dinscourge mentioned... Game Freak has poor ratings from employees because they are behind the times using ancient technology. Because people keep buying the games anyways. I mean, we kind of talk about that in the Game Freak episode. We literally were just like, Game Freak, it really feels like they don't have... Well, they don't... there are certain companies that are good at doing certain things. Like, if you were to ask us to do, like, a martial arts sword fighting channel, it's like, I guess we could probably do some research and figure it out, but that's not really what we're here to do, you know? We're mostly, like, comedy and satire and parody and, like, taking jabs at major corporations. But if we were to just pivot into having to do that, we'd be like, I don't know if we're equipped to handle that. Game Freak, because right now, classic, like, 8-bit but pumped up with, like, HD graphics games are super popular, especially on, like, Steam and Switch as well. I feel like Game Freak could probably pivot Pokemon to that, and it would be better than what they're doing.
Yeah,
I don't know if they're not really equipped to handle a big, huge open world game. I like Scarlet and Violet. I don't like Sword and Shield. I do like Scarlet and Violet, but I can really look at this and go, you guys are maybe not the best at this.
Yeah. Besides, we already did try to make a martial arts swords channel called High School Kung Fu.
Oh, oh God. Okay, I think that's one of the things, because, brief announcement, people, I'm probably, like, the uploads over the next few weeks after the Atari episode are going to slow down a little bit. I've got a few episodes. Jim probably knows that I'm going to be temporarily unable to make videos. But anyway, yeah, one of the things I wanted to record this week was me just going through YouTube and going, I've been on YouTube since the beginning. Here is my original channel. It was called Lone Road Productions. And then I did a couple other things, and then there was Gaming Wildlife, and then I did a couple other things, and now it's Geeks Welcome. So I was going to do a video just sort of talking about my life on YouTube.
Yeah.
That might be fun.
I was there.
Mm-hmm. You were.
All of it.
Did I tell you that the currently High School Kung Fu has no audio on it because you used a bunch of copyrighted music?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and back in the day, YouTube was just like, you use copyrighted music, you just cut it out. They just
you used to be able to do that though.
Yes.
Like, I remember that used to be pretty much all YouTube was just like anime music videos and copyrighted music.
We never got in trouble for, like, the Mortal Kombat theme or the Requiem for a Dream theme. Like, those...
Did.
No.
We did?
We did not.
Okay. Weird. You would think we would have got in trouble for so much from that video. Like, 1, copyrighted music. 2, it's just nothing but Smash Brothers footage.
Yeah.
3,
but I
don't know what else.
Yeah, I could probably look it up, but I remember it did get a lot of views back in the day. It would be about 20,000, which in 2005, 2006, YouTube was kind of a big deal.
Yeah, that was insane. I do remember. I think that was like when I got my first taste of YouTube. I was like, oh, I kind of like this. Everybody watching this dumb video.
And then, of course, we made The Heist and The Voice in the Clock and High School Kung Fu, and then I just sort of used Lone Road Productions as a platform to just post all of my college films that we did. I remember when we started doing Gaming Wildlife, there was one movie that I never made public. I just, not for a good reason, I just forgot to make it public, and so it's just like, oh, I published the video while Gaming Wildlife was going on, and then a couple of people were like, wait, where'd this video come from?
Hey, what video was that?
A Quiet Night. It was the horror film that I did, I want to say, in 2010, it was the Wild West Film Fest horror film I made in 2010, where me and Dame... Yeah.
Which one was the one that we did for the Wild West Film Festival, where we were in the woods?
Darkwood.
Yeah, that's it.
Nathan did 2 versions of that. There was the one we did for the Wild West Film Fest, and then a re-edited version that was much better that Nathan did later on.
God, I remember that. That was fun.
Yeah.
Those were good times.
Yes, they were.
Good times. Now we live in bad times.
I don't want to, but
I was
yeah.
living crap tons. So, okay. I was mad at you guys because nobody told me about Baldur's Gate.
Uh, yeah. So, Baldur's Gate is basically Dungeons and Dragons, the video game.
Yeah, which I'm super mad about because I've been wanting to play Dungeons and Dragons for like forever, and now I'm finding out I could have been playing Dungeons and Dragons like forever, just by myself in video game form. But that wouldn't have mattered because it was Dungeons and Dragons.
So, if you would like, Sean, I can tell you about another Dungeons and Dragons video game, except it's more just like. Do you know what GURPS is?
I have no idea what GURPS.
Generic Universal Role Playing System.
I have no idea what that is. I mean, I understand what it is from the name.
Mm-hmm. So there was a video game back in the day that used GURPS as as the baseline for the actual game. They do a lot of stats, like they have a thing called special stats, SPECIAL, which is like strength, persuasion, not effort, but like the thing that makes you strong.
Exercise?
Endurance. Sorry. Endurance,
Endurance.
SPE, C, charisma, I, intelligence, A, agility, L, luck. And they used it to create this post-apocalyptic game where you venture out into a wasteland after a nuclear apocalypse has happened. Does this
that sound
Fallout?
familiar?
Yes, Fallout was based off of a D20 system. Like you could actually.
But that's Fallout. We don't want post-apocalyptic. We want fantasy.
Well,
Yeah,
it was
I
based
want
off of a
swords.
D20 system. Like it literally
Sorcery.
literally uses a
Awesome
D20
design.
system in the original game.
I mean, so technically, Cyberpunk is based on a D20 system.
Mm-hmm.
That sucks.
Yeah, Cyberpunk's a mess.
Look, I don't
Hey,
know
guys.
what this. Yeah.
I just wanted to show you. My dad got back from Vegas last night. He got me this.
Ah,
World's goodest teacher. That's accurate.
I could actually probably go into the other room and show you this, but it was either my dad's birthday or Father's Day last year. I bought him a mug that says, "My favorite child gave me this mug." Marla found it online and she was just like, "This is really funny," and I'm like, "Yes, that is really funny. We have to get that for him."
My mom said I
which
should
one-
take that mug to school, and I'm like, I'm not taking a shot glass to my classroom. I'm going to
Yeah, no, that would be
send
a
the wrong
problem.
message.
Now, which one of you does he say gave him that mug when his coworkers ask? That's the question.
Well, I mean, if you think about it logically, his favorite son gave it to him.
It doesn't say son though.
Oh yeah, favorite
Yeah, it says
child.
favorite child.
That's right.
Yeah, so could be Marlo.
In-laws count as your children, right? That's how that
Exactly.
works.
I mean,
She's his
technically,
daughter-in-law, so I mean,
And if she's the one that
counts.
found it, I mean,
exactly.
There you go. She was the one. I'm madder.
Confirmation, your dad loves your wife more than you.
Oh, one more recent update. I finally got around to finishing up another model and one that I wanted to get done before the school year started.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of in a pose right now, but I finished my model of Gold Armor X from X3, so I'm very happy with how it turned out.
Mhm.
It's a bit more
Bulky?
orangey, brassy than gold,
Oh.
but you know, yeah.
Yeah.
And it came with this really cool fully
about to say
charged shot.
Yeah.
In the game.
I was about to say, does it come with cool effects thingies?
Dang.
And it's got like
Yes, it does.
4 different sets of hands. The Buster. It's got the sword, the Z Saber, a few different faces. There are a few parts where it's like there's either the translucent gem or you can get like a solid red, plastic one in there. I've seen some people like work, LED lights into there so they can have them actually glow, which I'm not tech savvy enough to know how to deal with that kind of stuff. But yeah, so one more for the collection. And I purchased the models of X1 and X6 blade armor, so those are going to be coming in the mail soon. And yep, that's my little hobby.
And we keep getting viewers that come in. We're up to 8, it looks like, or 8 views
Yay.
total. So to people watching, hello. This is Geeks Welcome. We do a live stream every so often.
I will let you know, Ian, it's really 7 because I'm one of those people. I have it open on a tab.
Well,
It's like
whatever.
it was- so I can watch the
Wait,
chat.
do I have it open on a tab? What is it?
I mean, I'm watching the stream live through like OBS and YouTube Studio, so that's what I'm doing.
Okay, I do not have it open, so I'm not one of them. Anyway, I wanted to ask you guys. So I brought up Baldur's Gate for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to ask you guys because there's a bit of weird discourse going on.
Oh, there's a lot of weird discourse.
Oh yeah, have you
Going
seen the
on
world?
about Baldur's Gate. So the thing that I hit on the most was, or the thing that got me the most riled up was, there seems to be like a discourse among developers that there's like they're trying to indicate that the game is too good, and that because of that fact, we as an audience shouldn't be, I guess, making that the standard for what games should be going forward. Which is like, to me, I just feel like that's kind of like incredibly. Well, yeah, I'll let you guys chime in on that. Like, what? Because like the idea is that I'll see if I can pull up the tweet, but let me know what you guys think about that so far. I'll try to find the tweet itself.
So first of all, Casey is raw. Thank you for the congrats. Because Casey's like, yeah, congrats on 1,000 subs, and it's like, yes, this is wonderful. But also, this was brought up when Tears of the Kingdom came out, that a lot of other developers saw what Nintendo had did with the Tears of the Kingdom, and they were like, how did you do that? How did you make this game so polished and so well done? And really, like, Baldur's Gate and Tears of the Kingdom, I feel like they aren't necessarily, like, creating an unfair standard. I feel like they've just made a new benchmark. That they're not...
Right.
They're basically saying to other developers, if you want to be this good, you know, this is what you got to reach if you want to be better than
get on our level.
Yeah, that's really what they're saying. They're just saying get on our level. Like, I don't see a problem with that personally. I'm not in the game like development industry. I've dabbled a tiny amount in video game coding, and I eventually was just like, I don't think I'd be very good at this.
So I found the tweet, or the X, or the whatever these things are being called.
Just call it.
Yeah, I
Now
don't
that
think the X's.
Freaking Elon Musk has decided that he wanted us to be a mutant and join the X-Men or something. I don't know. So this developer by the name of Zalavier Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is what he says. This is the tweet. Like a lot of people, I'm deeply excited about what the lovely folks at Larian accomplished with Baldur's Gate 3. But I want to gently, preemptively push back against players taking that excitement and using it to apply criticism or a raised standard to RPGs going forward.
So here's my take on this whole shtick, because I actually had a conversation about this recently, because I think whenever this comes up, there are two big examples that come to mind. One is, as Ian mentioned, Zelda. Mm-hmm. The other is Final Fantasy. Mm-hmm. Because we just got to accept and remember that, you know, these industries change over time, and it's good for them to experiment with new things. And just because something new is well received, that doesn't mean that the old way will be entirely erased or they can't go back to it. I mean, we had, you know, this movement with the Zelda games getting more and more open world and bigger maps and everything leading up to Breath of the Wild. And, you know, that is, and they still did, you know, the remake of Link's Awakening. They're still putting the other Zelda games on the Switch, you know, virtual console, or whatever they call it. And people still play them. People still enjoy them. That doesn't mean that they won't make another new Zelda game that's not Breath of the Wild style or Hyrule Warrior style or whatever other styles they've done. Same thing with Final Fantasy. Yeah, we've moved since, like, I would say, I guess since 12, now going into 16, more towards the action RPG genre and away from the turn-based active time battle stuff. But people still enjoy those games. We're still getting the pixel remasters. Mm-hmm. And it's just the idea that new things pop up, we want to try them, and that's always a good thing for them to experiment. And if it doesn't work, they change it. Look at the early days of the NES. Look at Zelda 2, Castlevania 2, Mega Man 2. All three of those tried new things, and the one that worked was Mega Man 2. They didn't change too much from one, but still, like, it's okay to try things. And, you know, Zelda 2 and Castlevania 2 had good ideas that they would revisit in later games when the technology was better. I mean, look at Castlevania 2 as sort of a precursor to the the Symphony of the Night style games, more RPG
Right.
elements in there. It just didn't work at the time, but
Right. And
I agree.
I see your point, but I think what they're referring to in this discourse is more along the lines of the fact that at launch, this game is feature complete, and at launch, this game works, and at launch, there's no microtransactions in this game, and like pretty much all the stuff that developers have been pretty much insisting need to be in video games these days in order for them to be able to be profitable. Here comes this game, Baldur's Gate 3, with none of that, and it's doing gangbusters. And now they're trying to push back and say, "Oh no, this can't be the raised standard. You shouldn't be allowed to raise your standards and say that games don't need this. We're going to push back on that and say that no, we're right. Games do need this, even though here's proof that they don't."
So
Hey,
wait,
sorry, really quick, because my system froze on me for a bit. What did I missed the start of what Sean was saying? We're talking about what now?
we're talking
So
about
so I was saying that the pushback and the discourse seems to be coming more from not necessarily what you were talking about and a developer trying something new versus here's the business practices that game developers have been doing, like microtransactions and the game's not feature complete at launch and the game doesn't work at launch and we're going to fix it later and all that stuff. And here's a game, Baldur's Gate 3, which doesn't do any of that. It's feature complete at launch. It works at launch. There's no microtransactions, and it's doing gangbusters. And all the game devs have been telling us for years that that's not possible to make anymore.
yeah. I mean,
Frankly, it sounds like they're doing the right thing. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, no, raise their standards, get them out well.
real quick, everyone. I'd like to say thank you to our first official member on the YouTube channel, Casey is Raw. Welcome to the channel. Glad to have you as a channel member. You can go join the VIP section of the Discord, which we'll do probably more with in the future. But yeah, we're still like building stuff. Yeah,
You're number one.
yeah. You are the
Number
first.
one. Remember, like, we should do something about that. One day we'll do something for Casey is Wrong. You are you are literally the first member. We'll do something one day for that to celebrate that.
Yeah, thank you for joining. Well done,
Yes.
Casey is Raw. Well
Exactly.
done. Yeah.
But
That was a
yeah,
bad joke. I apologize.
I'm writing that down, actually. I'm literally writing this down so that I remember.
but yeah,
We got to do something. Anyway,
the whole thing about like pushing, we've seen, I like, especially me, because I, for weird reasons, I look into like the financial side of gaming probably more than anything else. That there's a lot of money going through games, through microtransactions, through DLC, and stuff like that. Well, mostly microtransactions. Let's focus on that. There's so much money going through microtransactions that games basically come out as sort of like a beta, and then people complain about X, Y, and Z, and the developers are fixing on the go, and then a lot of money will go through and be spent on games. A great example is the like multiverses, which came out, people spent a lot of money on, and then the developers said, okay, by the way, this was an open beta, we are now going to close the game and finish it and release it later. And it's just like, people spent money on this. Like, there was actual money that went into this. The truth is, as it always has been, a great way to sell a game is to make something good.
Right.
Like, if you make a game that is just good, that is a lot of fun to play, that is thoroughly enjoyable and has very few bugs outside of something Bethesda does, then people are just going to like it. And people are going to spend time and money on it. Like, Tears of the Kingdom, I have found very few bugs with the game. It is pretty dang polished, and I spent 120 hours on it because it's like, this is a really fun game. And I've seen a lot of people complain about it, basically saying, I wish we would go back to the more linear Zeldas. I'm not a huge fan of the open world. They haven't really changed that much. The world is mostly just the same as before, but they added like an underground that doesn't do much, and the above ground has very, like, people have complained about it, but it sold really well, and it was very well polished, and I don't mind that this is a standard, that they and Baldur's Gate basically come in and say, this is the benchmark, you want to get on our level, meet this.
Keep in mind two things, though. If I remember correctly, wasn't the game delayed for a while at some point?
Yes, it was. Tears.
So probably for the sake of, again, making sure it's done, which it's good that they could do that. Mm-hmm. The problem is that, we need to remember as, gamers that games are more complicated to make nowadays than they were back then. Mm-hmm. Back then, I mean, when we were kids. Yeah. So that's one thing. But complementing that is the fact that we still keep getting these things pushed out quicker than is reasonable. I mean, whether it's a holiday release or they want to get the next game out while the social media is talking about the game, any of those expectations, fans pushing for the next game. I think, going back to Pokemon, I think Pokemon fans would be willing to wait longer for a game that's going to be better quality. We've just kind of gotten into this habit of I forget how many years it was we said in the video, 3 years?
Literally, it's every 3 years a new Pokemon game has come out. You can actually look it up. 98, Red and Blue, and I'm going off of...
We don't need that, right?
Yeah.
We don't need that, though, right? I mean, I love that, now that we have DLC in our games, I like that, hey, I finished Violet, now I'm just waiting for the DLC, because that'll satiate that need. Mm-hmm. It's not a full game, it's just extra content, some extra Pokemon, more battles. Mm-hmm. That's good enough. And they're making all these other side games anyway throughout the years. So, I mean, if you want more, play Pokemon Detective Pikachu 2. Play whatever that other mobile games are. Pokemon Sleep. I don't know.
I don't get what Pokemon Sleep
sufficient.
Is. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that's sufficient, though, Yeah. It's
And that's a problem, though, that the video game developers made for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
Because nobody asked them to make these games, look more and more realistic. They're the ones that told us that was good, right?
You got
They're
it
the ones
right.
That sold us on, look at these better graphics. They're more realistic, more polygons, more. Look at this character's got sweat on his face. Mm-hmm. Nobody told them to do that.
Yeah,
we didn't say, hey, I want to see characters sweating. Nobody told, I want to see a horse's testicles. Nobody said anything.
Red Dead Redemption 2.
That.
Yeah, Red Dead Redemption 2.
Literally, nobody asked for the sunlight coming through the clouds to form God rays and then peek through the cartilage in their ear and all that. Who even notices that? And two, nobody asked for that.
Yeah, no one cares.
It's the Solo of game features. It's here's the thing that you're gonna spend a whole bunch of money on that nobody really asked you for.
No.
And I still feel I don't know how much of an issue this is nowadays, but thinking back to the PlayStation era, I appreciate the creativity that came from their limitations. I'm not a Silent Hill fan at all, but I love the idea that the fog is to help with the loading the further distance areas. It's such a beautiful creative solution to a graphics problem. It's it's okay to have limitations and find cool ways to work around them.
Yes.
Instead of having my Pokemon glitching while they're flying through the sky because they're too far in the distance.
There's too many doggone polygons trying to load on the screen. Imagine what we could accomplish if we didn't have to have everything be so doggone realistic. You look at games the Insomniac game, Ratchet and Clank.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Look at how beautiful those games look. But they've got an art style. They're not focused on hyper realism. Mm-hmm. They're just focused on making the game look good. And then you can look at all the things you can do with that, right?
Yeah. It is.
And then you've got I don't know, NBA 2K25 coming out every freaking year with all the sweat and carrying on, and it's the same old game every year after year, and it's just nobody's asking for this.
Mm-hmm. There's a great example is Red Dead Redemption. Your horse can poop. Your horse can poop on the ground, and it's oh, that's realistic. Who wanted that?
Hey, to be fair, they were doing that in Digimon World 1 on the PlayStation.
Yes, but who wanted that?
At the same time, they did it. Tamagotchis can poop.
Yeah.
Well, that's why Digimon World could do it, because they were basically Tamagotchis. That was the whole idea.
So it's just do we really need poop in high definition 4K, 60 frames a second? You're watching the poop fall out of its butt,
Right.
fall into the ground at 60 frames a second.
I like Red Dead Redemption 2. I've played a little bit of it, and it is a gorgeous looking game. Yes, obviously they spent a lot on making the visuals look good, but man, does your character like walk weird. Like the animation with your character, it feels like they're kind of start to lurch forward, and
I
it's
gotta push button for left leg, push
Yeah.
button for right leg.
it's the
Now
feel
run.
the feel of the character is so janky and strange. The world is gorgeous and beautiful, but you're making a gorgeous and beautiful world in the Wild West. The towns are grimy and kind of gross looking because it's the Wild West. That's what they looked like. It doesn't necessarily look like amazing to do that, and so it's like maybe you should have focused more on, I don't know, making the game not so janky to play.
And I feel like a part of this comes from the video game industry chasing legitimacy so hard, and the one way they found to, I guess, capture some form of legitimacy is to make their games more and more like movies.
Yeah, they were talking about that back in 2011 with the Uncharted series, about they want games to be more cinematic. Yeah.
Right? So you try going so hard to be more cinematic, and in the meantime, you forget to make, your video game a video game.
There is a 3-letter word we are excluding here. The word is fun. Is your game fun to play?
Yeah, exactly. And it was like Red Dead was just like, yeah, it looks amazing. All the voice acting is amazing, and the story is great. But it's just like, dog, this game sometimes is just not fun.
Yeah,
And it's just like, I gotta go loot every single one of these dudes that I just got into a firefight on the ground, and I gotta pick every single one of them up, and I gotta go through this animation where he goes through their pockets, and then all to get 3 cents.
yeah. And
And then,
and on top of all of that, you know what Red Dead Redemption 2 gives you? Infinite ammo. Like, why would you ever give a crap when every gun fires an infinite, like, you have all the bullets you ever need. There's no challenge except to just like, I'm low on health, get behind cover. Okay, my health is back. Okay, go back and shoot some more. It's like, you never have to worry about item management because you have infinite ammo.
For realism.
yeah, realism.
Yeah.
But let's be real. Ammo limitations, that's only realism for horror games.
Right.
No one else wants it. That's only for horror games.
Speaking of horror games, Casey is Raw made a good point that there are a lot of remakes of the Resident Evil game in every new generation of consoles. I'm sorry, Casey, I really like Resident Evil, and I think Resident Evil 2 and 4 remakes are both really good.
Yeah, and I mean, it
3's
makes sense
okay.
if you're talking about, like, porting them into the next console or a HD remaster, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
there aren't really that many remakes. I mean, I feel like nowadays we're getting more of them, especially. I mean, like you said, RE2 and 4, Final Fantasy 7. Like, that's like, hey, let's take this idea and take it, what can we do with it? New hardware, remake the game from the ground up kind of stuff. Like, again, having not played either, what I've been told is that RE2 versus the RE2 remake, they are very different experiences.
Oh, God, yes. I've
Like, to me, that's the good kind of remake. That's like, taking a movie that was made in black and white and refilming it now with new actors and new technology, special effects, that kind of thing. The porting and remasters, that's just helping keep those games alive. Like, I can't tell you how many different consoles I've played the Mega Man games on, because I played them on the original hardware, and then on a PlayStation, on the Wii, on the Switch, on the, everything I can get my hands on.
Yeah.
Which, according to, like, some information, is like absolutely 100% necessary because game preservation sucks.
Yeah.
And these companies have no interest in it whatsoever. So
87% of of all the games ever made are unavailable. You just can't play them. And if I can go on a quick Resident Evil rant, I don't like the fact that the original Resident Evil 2, which was a huge hit back in the day, basically can't be played on any consoles. The only way that you can get it is the obscenely expensive GameCube remake, the obscenely expensive Dreamcast re-release. You can get the original PlayStation, the original Nintendo 64, or the original PC game, but they're really hard to find. Or you can download it. Guess where it is available for download? No? Well, yes, there. But guess where else it is available for download?
Steam?
The PlayStation 3 store. Not PS4,
yes.
not PS5, PlayStation 3 store.
I'll tell you, right before the PS3 stuff started, shutting down, I made sure to buy a whole bunch of PlayStation 1 games on there, on the store, because I knew I would, very unlikely be able to get my hands on a lot of them. And some of them, I still can't get my hands on. I've got Silent Hill on there. I've got Legend of Dragoon on there,
Apparently, you still can buy games on the PlayStation 3 store.
Yes, you can.
You just have to do it on an actual PlayStation.
Yeah, that's the issue, is that if you don't have a PS3, which I've never owned a PS3, then there's no easy way for me to play Resident Evil 2 unless I whip out one of my old consoles or R. And I don't... And that sucks. It sucks that that's my only option, because Resident Evil 2 is, I think, of the original series, probably the best one. And it's a great way to sort of compare Resident Evil 2 Remake, which is great. I've played Remake a lot, but I kind of want to play the original without having to, pirate it, or without having to whip out my GameCube, which is literally right over there.
Yeah.
Ooh. Comp brings up a good point here. Also, Oblivion being remade. I think, those Elder Scrolls games, I think that's another great area where, maybe remaking or at least remastering some of those older ones. It'd be nice to have them out there. Something other than Skyrim.
Well...
Which they've remade like 8 million times.
Yeah, they've redone Skyrim so much.
Skyrim Alexa.
My biggest issue with the Elder Scrolls series, and I know there's a huge modding community with both Morrowind and Oblivion, and a lot of people really like them, but I'm sorry to be a modern, gaming person, but I kind of don't like the fact that it's really hard to figure out what you're supposed to do in these games. Every quest giver gives you a 5-paragraph essay on what they want your quest to be, and you're supposed to interpret it that you go to this location and kill some wolves. I don't need 5 paragraphs to explain to me that I need to go to this location, kill some wolves, and pick up a key item. You don't need to give me 5 paragraphs for that. You need to tell me. You can give me 1 paragraph and it would still be a lot. I'm sorry, but that's just me.
Yeah. No, I understand where you're coming from. I think the conceit with those is that they were trying a little bit too much to be open-ended RPG.
Sure.
The pen and paper RPG where you can pretty much do whatever you want to do as soon as you get into the world and,
Yeah.
But I think they went a little bit too far in that respect.
I can't speak to those.
I feel the same.
I can't speak to those games specifically, but I feel like that's, again, just one of those gaming genres that it's fine if you know what you're getting yourself into. I've played Dragon Quest 1, I've played Castlevania 2. I've dealt with the obscureness of where the frick do I go or who do I talk to? But as long as you're patient enough or willing to put in that kind of time, sure. But as all adults who game know, time is very valuable nowadays.
God, it is. Yeah.
So, yeah. I will jump to GameFAQs or YouTube if I need to speed things up.
Freaking adult.
But yeah, Comp mentions they do it for the lore, which it's okay, sure. I'm not going to denigrate anyone for really wanting to dive into the lore. That's one of the reasons why I've never really gone into not Elder Scrolls, Demon's Souls. Why I've never gone into that series, or Dark Souls in Demon's Souls, is because you basically have to have the wiki page open on a separate screen to be what does that mean? And then you spend 30 minutes reading through a bunch of stuff and go, okay, I understand the context now. It's I don't necessarily like the idea of having to have extra homework. If I want to, I will. I have dove in huge into Resident Evil and Pokemon because I wanted to know more about the world, but I don't want it to be a requirement. I want it to be something that, if I choose to, I will, but it's not something that I like being forced into.
You don't want it to be so obtuse that you have to. You know,
Yeah.
you want it to be there because you want to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Very
Me, I'm a lore
rarely,
hound. I love that shit.
very rarely do I dive like deep into the lore of an RPG that I'm playing. More often, what I find myself digging into is lore of franchises. Like I love looking into the lore of Castlevania, of Metroid, of Zelda, the Hyrule Historia stuff. You know, like I find that stuff fascinating because you have all these games across long periods of time and how they're connected or why these things happen the way they did. I think that's fascinating.
Yeah, I can.
But none of that is required to enjoy any of the standalone games.
Exactly. I think that reflects good game design, is that the game basically tells you, here's the basics. You are man with sword esquire, go fight monster, monster is bad, and you're like, cool. And then they go, oh, by the way, after you beat the game, you're like, that was fun. You're like, I wonder what's going on. And then you dive into the wiki, and the wiki is like, the monster has this long lineage and history where it had been here in this mountain for 1,000 years. And you go, oh, that's cool. I kind of want to dive into that. But if you don't want to, you can just be man with sword esquire, must fight monster. Done. Like, the Half-Life series is perfect with that. The first Half-Life game is pretty straightforward. Aliens from an alternate dimension, kill them, kill them, kill them. And it's like, great. But if you dive into it, there's this much deeper lore behind the corporations behind it. We're kind of tapping into this alternate universe already. They're throwing actual, like, military people and ninjas at you. But then the monsters themselves show a lot of organized, like, tactical squadron stuff, and so we think maybe they're less than just primitive aliens. Maybe there's some intelligence behind it. And then when you dive into the whole, what is G-Man? Was he just this guy who got some superpowers, or is he actually a god? And you can do that if you want to, but it doesn't detract from the fact that the game is monsters over here, kill them, kill them, kill them.
And similarly, a game that Sean and I have played recently, Tales of Arise. There is a huge lore to this world, but you don't have to dig into it to understand the game. In fact, the plot of the game is the characters themselves figuring out this history, because a lot has been lost over the years because of the interactions of the two different peoples.
Oh, yeah,
so
right.
the lore is so incorporated into the story and the driving plot that you're invested in learning it with the characters. It's not like you have to read these encyclopedias and history books. They're learning it all together, and you can still enjoy the hacky slashy fun fight the monsters aspect of it, but it's not extra homework. It's central to the game itself.
Yeah.
And I think it's done in a really great way that way.
Yeah, another game like that would be probably the Horizon series, because it's like the whole point of that game is like it's a mystery of what's going on and how the world ended up that way. And
With
you have to
giant-
figure that out.
With giant robot dinosaurs.
Yeah, giant robot dinosaurs. Where did the giant robot dinosaurs come from? Why are they here? Why should we kill them? But we will kill them.
Casey had mentioned before they had gotten their wife the chainsaw controller for RA4 for the PS2. It's like, yeah, that chainsaw controller was so... Why don't people do stuff like that nowadays? Because, I mean,
we do technically. I mean, we still get like Pokemon and Mario variants on controllers and Switches, but you probably mean like something a bit more complicated looking.
Wow,
Yeah.
like the chainsaw.
yeah, because like this is just an Xbox controller, and then if they wanted to like change it up, they'll be like, oh, there's a cool design on the front, but we never just get a straight up wacky thing like the chainsaw controller, which is like, oh man, why can't people do really cool peripherals like that? Yeah.
The finger thing means the taxes.
Oh yeah, that was from a long time ago when we did the if Stuff Gamers Don't Say video. It's just like, you know what I need? Stuff Gamers Don't Say, Jim, you know what I need?
Oh, more Guitar Hero peripherals.
Thank you.
Right, from my angle, you were pointing at Sean, and I thought you were telling Drippy what he's...
No, from my angle, I'm pointing to you, but yeah. You know what I need? More Guitar Hero peripherals, because they kind of got a little out of hand for a while.
I had 3 at one point.
Yeah.
Keep in mind,
And that
though,
point was before I moved to this house.
keep in mind, though, also that when they make these alternative controllers in more creative ways, they are taking a bit of a gamble, because there is one version that's been done that is infamous in gaming history that no one wants to repeat that mistake.
The big giant thing from the Mech
The
Warrior.
Power Glove.
Oh, the Power
So
Glove.
bad.
Well, the Power
He was
Glove.
serious.
The
Dude,
Power
I
Glove
want-
just never worked. Is the problem?
Now, here's the thing. I bet you they could make that work now.
Yeah, they could. They have the
Probably.
technology now. They just didn't really have the
We
technology
need to-
back then.
We need to bring the Power Glove back. We need to pitch this to whoever. We need to go to Nintendo right now. We need to let them know. Look, Nintendo. Look, okay, look here. Look at me. We need to do a Power Glove. Bring it back as a Switch peripheral. Okay, because the Power Glove. Like think of the possibilities.
You know, they also did a
Power
lot of
Glove.
that. They also did a lot of that for the Wii too. Remember, like you had the Mario Kart control, the wheel. You could put the Wiimote in, or
Oh, yeah.
for Wii Sports, there was like the golf club and the tennis racket. You could
You
put
could
on
actually put like sports equipment onto your Wii. I remember that.
Heck, even the Guitar Hero guitar for that was right, because it wasn't like just a big guitar. You just put the Wiimote into the guitar.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did.
Yeah.
You had to actually like shove it inside the guitar, and there was the
God, I
a
remember.
little hole on the side where the Wiimote would go. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. And Din Scourge has reminded us of Rob.
Oh, Rob the Robot. Yeah.
Yeah.
What did Rob do? Because I've seen
don't
him
know.
before, but I don't remember what he actually did.
I know it was for the NES,
Yes.
but I don't know if it was like he worked as a controller or he was like as a game or something. And I have no idea.
I
don't
thought
think
he was
did
like
anything.
he picks up the thing and puts it in the thing. Is that what he did? I literally don't remember what
know.
Rob does, but he's been in
Maybe
Smash
somebody in our
Bros.
chat can tell us how did Rob actually work?
Yeah.
What was the purpose of Rob, other than being a Smash
Really?
Bros character?
And yeah, and they're also talking about like Skyrim really kind of dumbed down the whole video game thing where they'd made things too simplified, but then again, because it was so simple, I think it was able to get a lot of people interested because you didn't quite have the steepness of Oblivion or Morrowind throwing an entire universe's backstory at you. Again, it's the I don't mind wanting to dive into lore because it interests me. I just don't want it to be required to have to read essays to be able to go here, kill monster, get thing. But yeah, it was a controller with a spinny thing that holds down a button or something like that. Rob the Robot. Yeah, what?
Yeah.
That's the problem, is that people know Rob the Robot. People remember Rob the Robot, but what did he do? No one remembers what he did. And yeah, you can probably go Google it and look it up, but offhand, you don't remember. No one remembers.
Yeah, it was weird. It only worked with a couple of games, if I remember right.
It was just the one game. Oh, okay.
I think it just had some weird spinny discs or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Also, gun attachments. Because remember we had the Nintendo Zapper
Yeah.
and the Super Scope, and I remember you have Link's crossbow training, and that had a
Yeah, that was the Zapper. That was the Wii Zapper. You had
Okay, when I say the Zapper, I'm talking about the NES, the orange or gray gun
Oh.
Zapper for shotgun.
That
That's
was
the real
the
Zapper.
Oh, what was that called? I think it was just a light gun.
Yeah, it was called a light gun. I might have one around here. There's so much stuff in this tiny little space that I'm living. I've scrunched so much together.
Oh, no, you're right.
The
It was
NES
right. It was
Zapper,
called the
also known as the video shooting series light gun in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think light gun is more of a generic term because that is literally what it is. But yeah, it was called the Zapper.
Mhm.
Yeah, I had the
It is
orange
Zapper.
version, but there's also the gray one.
I had the gray one.
I had the gray one. I never had the orange one. And I remember my cousin Chris.
Duck Hunt, bitch.
Yeah, Duck Hunt. My cousin Chris taught me how to play Duck Hunt because he was the one who gave me my NES. Because the very first two video game consoles I owned, my parents did not buy for me. They were gifted to me by other people because we couldn't really afford video games, but I really wanted to play them. So my cousin Chris actually gifted me his Nintendo Entertainment System. And he was just like, here's how you do it. You have to aim at the screen and fire. And so what does like 5-year-old me do but go right up to the screen and just put it right next to the screen? And he's like, you're not supposed to do that. I'm like, I don't know how else to do this.
Point blank. God.
This seems to work really well. Just put that there and then fire, and yeah, that's
You
working.
will know my name is the Lord.
When I lay my vengeance upon thee.
Yeah, that was like I don't think I ever quite figured out how the hell those things even work.
I don't know, because you need to have, for the Wii you needed to have a like
A sensor bar.
Yeah, although the Switch doesn't need a sensor bar. Like I could just wave these. I can wave these around and my Switch will understand.
Yeah, but I feel like they have like a thing in them though. Like, isn't there like a sensor bar in the front of there or something?
Possibly.
They do at the front, but it's more connected to the actual Switch. Like, the way that they connect is different from how the Wii modes connect, I believe. I'm not going to pretend to be an engineer and all these.
There's like a gyroscope and stuff
for
in there.
I know I've seen videos about how the NES one worked, and it had something to do with the kind of TVs that were made back then. So like it wouldn't work on a modern TV.
Oh.
Yeah,
It had something to do with CRT. Yeah, it had to do with them, and that's why it would work if you just put it up to the screen because of. See, again, I'm not going to pretend I know what I'm talking about, but I've seen videos on YouTube explaining there is a reason why, how they function, and why just putting it up to the screen would be more effective than actually from a distance aiming. But again, that defeats the purpose of the game.
Well, yes, but also if it defeats the purpose, but doing it the other way doesn't work, like say for example,
Well, it
a
does work,
glove
but you
with
have to
buttons
aim.
on it.
Well, yeah, that's its own thing. I'm talking about like the idea of like working on aiming with the gun versus just putting it up next to the thing.
Right, but aiming with
Yeah.
the gun didn't always work. That was the problem.
If you're bad at aiming. I mean, I played the game just I don't know.
Yeah,
I was never good at Duck Hunt.
buddy.
It's funny, like going back and playing a bunch of older games that I remember being bad at, and now I'm just like breezing through. Like I've done the NES. I've gone to the Switch Online NES game, and I've been replaying the old Rygar, which I remember being very bad at, but now I'm like going through and I'm just defeating everything and going, was this game hard? I don't remember this game being this easy. I thought it was harder.
See, for me, that's what happened during like the PlayStation 2 era when they started making collections of older games I play on the NES. Because, like, if I'm honest, when I was a kid, I could probably count the number of games I really beat on one hand. Like, I never beat any of the Mega Man games. I know I beat Sonic 2, but like the Mario games, I don't think I ever really beat any of them as a kid. And then, along come these collections where I can play them as a more functional teenager and now fully functional adult, and the games feel a lot easier. I'm like, man, how was I too stupid to beat these as a kid?
So
kids are dumb.
Dinscourge is mentioning how the whole light gun thing works. It has a lightness sensor that looks for the light and displays a frame with only a box where the target is. New TVs aren't frame accurate like CRTs, so the frame doesn't line up. A special gun and a card that you can put into Duck Hunt and then into the console that can make it work with an LCD by having adjustable latency and delay. Oh, so it's like the Guitar Hero thing. In certain Guitar Hero games, you have to actually go into the menus because you'll press the button and flick the whammy bar or flick the strumming bar, but it won't actually hit because certain TVs have a weird delay to them.
You gotta calibrate it.
Yeah, you have to do the whole calibration thing. So it sounds like there's a similar thing with Duck Hunt.
That's cool. I didn't know they made something for that. But it makes sense considering how many like older consoles and games have been like, fans have made all sorts of accessories or ways to connect them. You've got that one for your GBA to play on the computer.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You can get like HDMI adapters for, the old consoles. That was something actually I hadn't really thought about this because earlier this year my TV stopped working. I got a new one and I hook it up and I'm plugging stuff in. I'm realizing, oh wait, this TV doesn't have the red, yellow, and white, ports on it.
Yep.
I can't plug my Wii into my TV. I can't plug my PS2 into my TV anymore.
Yep.
Sadness. End of an era.
That is absolutely a problem with a lot of modern console, and this is why, going back to what we had said earlier, there are 87% of games aren't available anymore because our modern televisions do not have the like red, yellow, white plugins
Components.
anymore.
That's it. Component.
The component,
Port.
yeah, they don't have the component or composite cable anymore. I mean, you can't play NES because you had to plug in a completely different thing.
Yeah.
SNES was the first one to do component.
Oh yeah, because
cables.
the NES and the Genesis had those coaxial cable ports for like the cable port. Oh my gosh! And you had to play. You had to choose. Am I going to play my video game on channel 3 or channel 4?
Yep.
Oh,
And that's the issue, is that a lot of TVs don't have the ability to do that. So you would have to get an old like big bulky CRT like TV to be able to play older consoles. So even though games like Resident Evil 2 were really popular back in the day, if you want to play that now, you have to find a way to get an older TV, which a lot of people don't have, and find a way to plug it in that way and make sure your N64 or PlayStation 1 still works, or download it off of the PlayStation 3. The PlayStation 3, I'm never going to be not annoyed by this, is that you have to get a PS3 to play Resident Evil 2 the original, because every company is just like, oh, we want you to play the remake's so much better. And it's like that we have given the responsibility of archiving video games to the publishers. The publishers are going to put forth what will make them the most money, not whether or not something needs to be preserved. And it's very annoying.
Right now, at my TV, I have my PlayStation 5, my PlayStation 4, and my PlayStation 3, all of which I can plug in and play. I can play any of my games from my PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, or PlayStation 1. If I want to play my PlayStation 2 games, though, you know, again, I might have to just get an adapter, because I've got a big library of PS2 games I haven't gotten around to playing yet, and if I want to play them, since none of these play PlayStation 2 discs, I've got to, you know, just get an adapter or another TV, which I'm not going to get another TV.
I think it goes back to the original problem with like these companies. They're just we are leaving the responsibility with them, and they are only interested in making the money. So
there you go.
When you have situations like Baldur's Gate, and you see this company is like actually focused on making a good game, right? Versus, you know, just being about making the money. It's like, let's get the money by making a good game.
Yeah.
Versus, like, I don't know, like for instance, which is interesting because this actually also happened recently, where the game Destiny 2 came out, and apparently it's been pissing off all of its fans. Like, I stopped playing a while ago, but it's been pissing off all of its fan base because they came out with this like I don't know, press release or whatever you want to call it, state of the game or whatever, where they essentially told everybody that, like, if you're into PvP, you know, well, too bad, because, you know, we don't have the resources to make more PvP content, so you're just crap out of luck because we don't think you're worth it. Or, you know, if you like this part of the game, guess what? You're out of luck because we don't think that's worth it. So we're only going to focus on this part at the detriment to this part because, you know, this part gets us money, or this part's connected to the store with the microtransactions, and we can milk all the money out of there. And it's just like, you see a game like Baldur's Gate just not do that. And it's just kind of like, oh, you guys have been telling us for years that you couldn't survive unless you did that. So now it's just like, oh, you're full of shit.
Yes. No, like, and Destiny's a great example because if I'm not mistaken, over the course of Destiny 2, there have been a bunch of like new expansions that they've made that made older items obsolete, if I'm not mistaken. Like, you would spend all your items on a raid to get a thing, but then now that the new expansion's out, you can't use that old raid item anymore. The exact...
Yeah, they did that. They called it sunsetting.
Yeah, the World of Warcraft does that exact same thing with later expansions. So, in World of Warcraft, you would spend an entire raid to get the Warglaives of Azeroth, these 2 gigantic swords, and they're super cool, and yada yada yada. And then a couple of expansions later, because every expansion had to be like, okay, the Warglaives deal 100 damage. But then the next expansion, the big weapon deals 500. The next expansion, it deals 10,000. You know, the numbers kept getting high. So Yeah, so what they did was rebalance it so that the Warglaves now do 20 damage, and all the future ones deal 100, and then the next expansion 1,000, and then the next it's like,
And
wait
then
a
they're
second,
gonna do that again.
I spent, it's like I spent 100 hours getting these two super powerful swords, and they look really cool and they're glowy and stuff, but now they do jack shit in damage because you wanted to come out with the next expansion and have the next thing be even more powerful. Because
Trading card
make
games
some
have
more
that
money.
problem too.
Yes. And the problem is it invalidates previous expansions because people were like, oh, I really liked the space themes and the cosmic stuff of Burning Crusade, but if I get any equipment from there, it's crap.
Yeah.
It's total crap.
And the worst part about all of that is that it doesn't just invalidate the previous expansion; it invalidates your money that you spent on it, and it invalidates the time that you spent on it, which is the most expensive thing. So, and it's all in the pursuit of just these companies getting more money.
That's it.
Like, it has nothing to do with respecting your experience. It's just they just see us as basically just stacks of money, and like I've said this before, and I'll keep saying it until the day I die. These companies, and I don't just mean these game companies, I mean just pretty much all companies in general, won't be happy until the day comes when we give them our money and they give us nothing.
Yes. That is absolutely, that's where a lot of streaming sites are basically going. They're wanting to just charge as much as they can and give us as minimum as they can, because that's what capitalism is. Capitalism is about driving your ability to maximize profits while minimizing the amount of like anything that you have to give someone.
Well, also,
That's why capitalism sucks.
The way that these services work, take streaming services right now. Okay, so I've got a whole bunch of services. Most of them I'm paying for. I mean, I'm using a couple from some other people. I'm not gonna, because I know Netflix is out there listening. But the thing is, there's so many things to watch on so many services and so little time that like it does come to the point where, hey, if I haven't used this service in a month, then yeah, I basically gave them money and they gave me nothing.
Yep.
Yeah.
I finally had to close a couple of my services just because, like, you know what, I'm not using them. I need to save more money. I can reopen it if I decide I want to use it again. But yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if within the next decade or so we're just going to see a lot of services just combine together into something huge. I've said it before and I'll say it again. They will not be happy until they are charging us $100 a month for every service.
And here's another thing that I want, because I'm glad we brought up streaming service as well, because preservation is a thing that we need to be worried about with them too. Because I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but Disney Plus, like, basically, like, and this happened and like nobody really even talked about it, but I think it's kind of a big deal. They removed Lightyear.
They just took it out.
Yeah, and it's essentially their reasoning was they didn't want to pay residuals for the movie because the movie didn't perform the way they expected the movie to.
Oh yeah.
So the reason why that kind of piqued my interest and perked like my ears up, because that's one of the big things that they're fighting about right now
with the Writers
Guild and the Screen Actors Guild strikes. So my thinking is, like, we're already at the point now where, because they don't want to pay residuals, they're just dropping movies and shows off of their platform. Like, what happens like when like that's the only way you can get a thing is through their platform, and they just drop it off of there, because which is liable to happen.
It happened
because
it happened with Paramount Plus and Star Trek Prodigy. They literally were
just gone.
Yeah, they just dropped it straight up from their streaming service. They're just like, it's out,
and it's just gone. And now it's like, and I'm just imagining that, hopefully, I don't know, God willing, that the Screen Actors Guild and the Writers Guild, hopefully they win.
Oh yeah.
And they get what is owed to them. But like, obviously, once that happens, that means their residual money from streaming is going to have to go up, which means more and more companies like Disney are going to be like, oh, this show isn't worth paying residuals for, and cut it. So like, where's the preservation there? Like,
Well,
how are we like once they get rid of like for instance, Prodigy is just gone.
yes, it
It's
is.
just gone. You can't watch it. There's nowhere. It's just away. It's gone. You will never see it again. It's locked in some vault somewhere,
Yeah.
and it's just gone. And it's
It's
like, how many more shows like that do we have to lose before somebody like says, "Hold on, let's figure out a way to preserve stuff so that it's not just gone forever."
this is definitely an issue that I have with being a content creator is because I originally went to film school because I wanted to make movies. I wanted to actually write stuff, direct stuff, edit, yada yada. And in the industry we have right now, it's like content creators through streaming and through YouTube seem like they have the most agency when it comes to their content. Is so why would I ever want to do like a scripted show for Netflix or for Hulu or something when I know that at any point in the future they can just be like, this show's not really worth it to keep up on their streaming service anymore, we're just going to cut it.
And
And
that's all my work gone.
yeah, what all the hours and years and money and time that I spent on that thing is just gone now. What happens to it? What do I do? As a
Right now, you are just convincing me that I need to buy hard versions of like every show on Netflix that I like.
I've been trying to do that
That's
since
what
the
I'm saying.
pandemic.
I'm like, we need to bring back like we like as a society need to basically just agree that we need to bring back physical media. Like obviously DVDs weren't working
Yeah.
and VHSs clearly weren't working. We need to find a way to, I guess, minimize the size or whatever. But we need to bring back hard copy physical media.
Well,
So real quick,
kind of that-
would you like to see my entire Switch catalog?
Yes.
Here it is. I have physical copies of pretty much every game that I own on the Switch because I know for a fact if something were to happen to Nintendo servers and a lot of their stuff would be shut down, I would be SOL with any games that I didn't own physical copies of. But now that I have physical copies of those games, I can play them eternally. Same thing with, say, for example...
as long as the hardware keeps up. I mean, the thing is, I had to come to terms with the fact that I just couldn't afford to keep buying physical games, and so if it's not something I'm collecting, I've had to be like, you know what? It's fine to get it digital. I'll play it. I probably won't even play it more than once. I'll save some money that way. I don't know. But going back to what Sean was saying about the physical media, that also runs into the issue of the same thing with video games. What happens when that hardware is no longer viable, like the VHS tapes? Like, I mean, DVDs and Blu-rays wasn't that big of a transition as far as disc. I mean, like Blu-ray players, most that I've used at least can play DVDs. But you know, eventually we'll have new technology, and again, we'll come to the issue of how many things are we able to transfer over to the new hardware. It's the same thing video games are in right now. Like I was saying about the PS2 games that I can't play.
So maybe not necessarily physical media, but I like there needs to be like some way of preserving this stuff. We need like okay, like for instance, we have the Library of Congress, right? And they pretty much like every book that's ever written goes in there,
Yes.
right? And I think movies go in there too.
Yes. There have been a lot of movies that have been preserved through the Library of Congress, like usually after about 10 years or so, when they're like, this film had a very high profile, it was influential in a lot of ways, we are going to preserve this. There are libraries for films, yes.
Yeah, we need libraries for everything.
And
We
that's
need
another problem.
TV
is
show libraries. We need video game libraries. we
You
need
probably
movie libraries.
you probably know about this better than I do, but I know one thing I've learned from watching people talk about preserving anime, specifically Dragon Ball Z, is how big film is,
Yes.
and how the reasons why we've had some poor versions on various DVD sets, you know, with color issues, sound issues, has to do with that preservation. And again, when you're talking about these giant film rolls, I get why the BBC burned a lot of their stuff back in the day, even if it's led to lost Doctor Who episodes, which makes me incredibly sad. I get it from that angle. It's like, how do you make these things preservable in a way that both preserves the original style, how it was made, what's supposed to look and sound like, but also practicality?
Right.
It is.
But I mean, like, the technology that we have now makes it easier to preserve the stuff that's being put out now.
Mhm.
That's like obviously like the stuff that's lost
Mhm.
is lost.
Mhm.
There's no way for us to ever
Yeah.
get that back. So like I think, you know, obviously you want as much of the past as you can get, but I think like the main focus, like at this point, we need to start focusing on like everything that we've got now. Let's preserve that crap,
Yeah.
and everything going forward. Let's preserve that stuff too, because right now it's just completely in the hands of companies and organizations that have literally no interest whatsoever in doing any of that, and that's our history. Like that's
It is.
Digitizing,
a society. That's
digitizing,
what
saving
makes
them.
us
I've
That's
got every Doctor Who episode on this one little external hard drive,
like
up to like the latest couple seasons. I'm
like,
just saying, like we can download files, we can
Yeah.
preserve things.
like what
We don't need to
happens?
be lost.
What happens when the bombs go off, and the aliens come and they want to watch Doctor Who? What the hell happens
Well,
when
yeah.
the aliens? What are they gonna do when the aliens come and want to watch Doctor Who? What are they supposed to do? Huh?
It is, and it is difficult
Supposed to find
because
Jim's hard drive.
it is difficult because you can take like it's difficult with media as well because I can just take a book off of the shelf here and I can just pick it up and start reading it and it's fine. You don't have that luxury when it comes to a game or when it comes to a movie. Like if I were to say just pick up a random John Grisham novel right over here and just pick it up and start reading it, I can be like, cool. But if I were to be like, hey, do you want to play this Pokemon game? And you're like, sure, how do I do that? You need an extra thing to do that. Hey, do you want to watch...
Anything that is electronic. I mean, like hell, my Kindle. When my first Kindle stopped working, it wouldn't charge. I'd either buy a new battery for it, or it's everything that was on there is effectively lost.
Yep.
Digital media, that's a concern. It saves a lot of space, and it's really convenient for travel. But if it stops working, whether it's a Kindle, a Switch, any old console, VHS player, Blu-ray player, there's a lifespan to these things.
What would happen if there was just an EMP or maybe like a sunburst that didn't physically harm anyone, but just wiped out electronic devices? There is an entire, like, all of our history just gone.
There's a society of a civilization worth of just knowledge is just and gone.
Yeah.
Art, history,
Yeah.
Media,
And
film,
Casey-
movies, TV, video games, all of it is just gone.
And Casey points out here that a lot of footage didn't make the transition from VHS to DVDs down to Blu-rays, to Ultra HD Blu-rays. We're losing more media the further we go.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, not everything is going to get remade. Look at like the Nintendo library. A lot of great games have been ported to the Wii and the Switch, but a lot of games weren't. And those games are effectively lost until somebody does something about it.
Yeah.
And it seems like all these companies are only interested in like the best we can hope from them is for them to make a crappier remake.
Oh,
of
it's
the
kind of
things
like
that- it's like
kind of
Ninja
like
Turtles.
it's kind of like with music. Like, you know how people think about, like, man, music in the 70s was so good. Well, which
Yeah.
songs from the 70s are we hearing?
Yeah.
The greatest hits. Like, if the only ones that are being preserved or replayed are the big hits, we don't know what those songs that weren't as popular were. We're missing a huge chunk of
Yeah, let
music
me hear-
history from that, too.
It's like,
absolutely.
yeah, I know about, turn the beat around, but let me hear like song 4 on that on that whatever 8-track. Let me hear or whatever it was.
Because there's like, we don't know all of the songs from the albums. There's probably dozens of just like lost tracks. And of course, they have the argument of, well, some of them are just not very good. It's just like, well, yeah, but we don't know. We
Says
don't.
you.
Yeah, says you.
Right?
They're
Like, think about, like, some bands are, like, known for being, like, greatest hits albums bands, but then, like, listen to their actual work. I mean, like, okay, I love Styx. I love Queen. I've listened to greatest hits albums of theirs so many times, but there aren't a lot of good standalone albums that I regularly go back to. Like, there's the 3 or 4 songs in the album that I like, and there's something, yeah, I'll skip it, or I don't really care. You know?
Right. But like those songs
they still
mean
matter. They
something.
still
They
exist.
still
And
matter.
like,
Yeah, they matter.
they shouldn't be lost just because they're not on the greatest hits album. You know.
A great example of this, the Foo Fighters, with a lot of their music, they will use albums to like test their grounds with other things. Like I'm trying to remember the name of the album, but their album that came out in 2011, whose name I'm completely blanking on for no good reason, has 6 songs which sound like Foo Fighters songs. They also have a bunch of like metal tracks because Dave Grohl loves metal, but you would never hear those on the radio, and they're very odd and eccentric and kind of experimental, but they threw half of those on there because, Dave Grohl's just like, I want to try this stuff, I want to make this kind of thing. And if you only ever heard the hits from, I think, Wasting Light, I think that's the name.
Wasting Light is...
Yeah. Wasting Light. If you only ever heard the hits from Wasting Light, you're going to hear like 2 or 3 tracks from that, but you're going to completely miss half of the album of Dave going, let's try some crazy metal stuff. You're going to miss that completely, and if that doesn't get preserved for the future, then you'll never know that happened.
I just want to be like, buddy, welcome to prog rock. Rush.
Yeah.
Everyone's heard Tom Sawyer.
Yes.
Everyone's heard Tom Sawyer. You know how many songs that on? No. 3 or 4
Oh my
songs?
god, yes. Wasting Light is a perfect example because, like, okay, everybody's probably heard, like, what's the
Walk.
biggest song from that? Walk, right?
Walk.
But Rope is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I love that song. Like, Rope, Arlandria is on that, which is like, but who listens to Arlandria?
No.
Just me in the car on the way to work.
It is.
You are not me, Arlandria.
It is so, like, yeah, the preservation of a lot of stuff is a big issue, and but it is also the question of, like, there are always going to be ways to destroy media. Like, books are safe from, like, electronic stuff, but, a random lighter could just light something on fire.
Oh, sure. Fire, water. Yeah, of course.
DVDs were notoriously bad for, like, getting scratches on them by just playing them, putting them into the thing and playing them. They would get scratches, and if they're scratched, you can't play them anymore. Mm-hmm. You can take a magnet to a VHS, and that VHS doesn't work.
Or even without that, like, they were limited how often you could actually play them. Like, older VHS tapes aren't working as well. The magnetic tape in there, I mean, they wear out over time.
That was the big issue with VHS versus Betamax. Betamax was higher quality and would have been better for preservation, but VHS was cheaper to make, and Sony made their patent open, that anyone could make a VHS player. Beta was saying the only way you could get a Beta player is by going through us, and then Sony just wiped the floor with everyone else because everyone could gain access to VHS.
Yeah, because it was more interested in money than they were with preserving things, which is why we should not be leaving preservation up to these companies in the first place.
Yes, we don't need to give preservation of video games and movies and stuff to the publishers because they care about one thing: money, profits.
And we're just talking about, like, natural disasters global catastrophes like nuclear explosions or EMPs or whatever. Like, we're not even talking about, like, just random humans destroying stuff.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, that was the whole premise of, like, I don't, like, regardless of how you feel about the book, that was the whole premise of the Bible and the Book of Eli, right? Mm-hmm. That people just grabbed it and started burning it, and there was, like, just the one left.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, that's a whole, like, thing. Like, regardless of how you feel about it, it's like, that's a pretty big part of history that's just gone. That would have been gone if it weren't for, blind Denzel Washington chopping up fools and shooting everybody somehow, like Daredevil.
And of course, like, just for the sake of saying it, being practical here, like, we're talking about, EMPs and nuclear war and all stuff and the loss of media. I think everyone will agree we would have bigger concerns, let's be real here.
Sure.
Just as fans of these things, like, it's something that we would consider. I mean, any historian would mourn the loss of, any kind of media just for the sake of, we like our time capsules, we like the thing we can go back and say, hey, this is what this was like at the time. Why I like collecting records.
And it's like, it's our history.
It's
it's how we got here and how we know how to do better in the future. You know, if we forget, like, this is, if you forget history, you're doomed to repeat it.
Professor,
So how do we keep ourselves from repeating?
Professor
Stupid
Bond
things.
is making a good point about, like, this is the second market for collectors is brutal. This is part of the issue for a lot of, like, games and stuff like that, is that the secondary market for a lot of these things is just insane. Even taking something as simple as, like, an old Pokemon game that I've got here, this thing's probably $100 because there's just so few of them left and it's hard to find them. It's one of the reasons why Magic the Gathering has a lot of scarcity, is because there were only so many cards made, and like you had said before, Sean, a lot of people just destroyed their cards over time. This is why there's a bunch of comic books from the 60s and 50s and stuff that are worth a huge amount of money, because people got them, they read them, and they're like, cool, and they just threw them away. Like, the issue is that you'll never get people to be able to experience those because there's so few of them left.
And the thing is with this whole scarcity argument is that, like, Nintendo doesn't benefit from these games being rare. Collectors benefit. Scalpers benefit, Nintendo isn't making more money or less money because copies of Chrono Trigger or Earthbound are hundreds of dollars, right? In fact, if they wanted to, they could make these things more available. And I know it's probably more Square than Nintendo on Chrono Trigger, but the point is, they could make them available and they would make money. And as Professor Bond points out, if Nintendo really loved money, they would port all their old games to the eStore for every new console. I guess that confirms that Nintendo doesn't care about money. They don't want our money.
Right. It's like, I remember I bought my copy of Pokemon Fire Red here. I bought it, I want to say before the pandemic, and the prices on these games skyrocketed during the pandemic. What amount of money did Nintendo make off of me buying this? Because I bought it from a third party. I didn't buy it from Nintendo directly. The only way I could have done that is if I had bought this back in, 2004? That was 19 years ago. Nintendo hasn't made a cent off of this game since then. None of the people who worked on this game made a cent off of it since then, and it's just not available anywhere. The only way you could get this is from a third party, and it's just like, who's making money off of that? Well, the third party, or whatever agency they've sent it from. So, like, eBay probably made money, and the person probably made money. Nintendo didn't see a cent of that.
And, it makes sense when it's issues beyond their control. Like, take the Tony Hawk Pro Skater games. Music rights issues. I get it. Things get messy. They get complicated. But when it's when it's Nintendo's property, when it's Square's property, when it's pick another game company. When they have the power, Microsoft. When they have the rights, fully to the game. And I know I don't know if it gets messy when it's like, this is a Nintendo console, but it's a Square Enix game. I know things get messy. Capcom and Konami, the Mega Man and Castlevania games aren't on the Switch software. They're on their own collections. You have to buy separate. I get things get messy, but again, no one but the scalpers benefit when these games are not being remade and re-released or whatever. If the companies want to make money, there's clearly a market for it.
They don't want to make your money.
Yeah.
They want to make money on their terms.
They want to make whale money off of microtransactions.
Have things enter public domain faster after it's no longer available. Sure. Look how many fan games are out there for these things. Like, if Capcom doesn't want to make a classic style Mega Man game, there's dozens, if not more than that. I don't know how many there are, but of fan games modifying old games or making new things. And you get people like what was his name, Christian Whitehead, I think, the guy who made the Sonic Mania. Like, you see fans make these beautiful games, and then if the companies like them, hire them on. And do what they want. Sonic Mania was the best Sonic game since the Genesis era, if you ask me. Like, that's what the fans want. Yes, we want new things, we want experimentation, sure, but like, if you can't make the old things available, make them public domain. Let the fans make the stuff then, if you won't do anything with it.
A big reason why a lot of public domain stuff is so hard to go through is because of Disney. Because they're trying to hold on to their copyrights.
They've hold on to Mickey Mouse for dear life.
God, yeah.
They're going to hold on Mickey Mouse's dick.
They have literally forced copyright laws to change dozens of times because they're just like, we're going to hold on to our stuff. And as I've said before, this is why there's so many Disney remakes, is because if they remake something, it doesn't go to public domain, it gets to stay theirs. doesn't matter what the quality is. It just they retain control at that point. And yeah, public domain is something
Roger
that
Corman's Fantastic Four.
right. That's literally God. That freaking movie. That's also to a lesser extent why Sony wanted to do the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man films is because they wanted to keep control of Spider-Man and keep it away from Marvel. And then the second one like bombed really bad, and so Sony was just like, okay, we can't do this anymore. And then they found a way to work with Marvel to be like, look, you can make new Spider-Man
Let's make
stuff.
our movie good.
Yes.
Help us make money on movie. Help us make movie good so people come see movie.
Yes.
And give us money. And Marvel was like, all right.
Yeah, we'll do that. I remember the agreement was that Sony would make all of the money from like ticket sales, but Marvel makes money off of merchandise. And so it's like,
I mean, they never gave up the rights to the merch, so they always had the rights to the merchandise.
Merchandising, where the real money from the movie is made.
Exactly.
Yeah, Spider-Man at the theme park.
Now I need to watch Spaceballs again. I love that.
Which aren't
movie.
doing well, by the way, which I'm hearing.
Theme parks aren't doing well?
Yeah.
Well, no
Yeah.
one wants
At
to
least
go.
Disney's. Yeah.
Well, I mean, combining the fact that COVID happened, now it's gotten to the point where it's so expensive, and you got to pay more if you want to get like the fast pass, and you got to pay more to get the even faster pass. It's something that only the really wealthiest people can really afford to do anymore.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was a little kid, we would drive out to Florida and go to Disney World and stuff like that so often.
Yeah, I was
and
about to say,
like,
and it's in
can't do that
now.
anymore.
I was about to say, and it's in Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah.
I remember
Same thing.
Which is America's way.
when Marla and I went to go see the Barbie film, I remember seeing an ad where they were talking about like you can come check out Disney World, and we've got this like new recent low price of $100 a day, and I'm like, you fucking what? That's insane per person.
The low price.
So so for $200 we can go visit Disney World once. That's the starting price. That is not
then
hotels.
You gotta pay for a hotel. Yeah.
That's not travel. It is $200 for us to go check out a theme park for one day. That's
$200 for a
insane.
ticket.
That's
That's
insane.
not food.
I will tell you
Travel.
right now, like
Hotels. No.
I can't I don't know if I'll ever go to another theme park except for when there's one theme park I want to go to at some point in my life. Nintendo Land.
Yeah.
I want to go to a theme park. I got to go there at some point. But otherwise, no. I'm happy with saying I will probably never go to a Disney park again. It's too expensive.
Disney. I want to say
I'll go
that.
when the apocalypse happens.
I want to say that, but also I know that they've got the Star Wars theme park now, and I'm like, I kind of want to see the Star Wars theme park.
I do genuinely want to see the Star Wars theme park.
I do, but that's money.
Like if we ever go, like, you know what? we should make this a channel thing.
All right. Hey, people, you want to spend thousands of dollars on Geeks Welcome to send us to the amusement park? We can go check out.
We will go, and we will channel the crap out of that place.
We will.
Casey. Come on, Casey. You'll help us. You'll get us there, won't you?
We will film it with our phones.
You know what? if you get us to Disney World, we will take Casey is Raw with us to Disney World. That's a channel goal. Channel goal. Take our first member, Casey is Raw. There it is. I knew I was gonna come up with something. Now you're really excited that you became a member now, aren't you, Casey? Member number one. Member number one. And now I got to come up with something for member 100, but we'll get there.
We'll figure it out. But yeah, we.
Channel goal: take Casey as Raw to Disney World.
At this point, I would just be happy to be able to make this my full-time job and be able to afford to pay people to help me make the channel worthwhile. But yes,
take
we will.
Casey's Raw to Disney World.
We will go to Disney World. Geeks Welcome will explode in popularity, and we will become successful and go to Disney World and film it like a lot of other YouTubers did.
Matter of fact, Disney World will pay us to come to Disney World.
Hey,
also,
Disney.
Casey says, "Lol, hell yeah!" So there we go. That's a
Sponsored.
contractual obligation right there. So
Sponsored. Disney World will pay us to come to Disney World and film the crap out of Star Wars, The Experience, or whatever the place is called. I forget.
Yeah. I know a lot of YouTubers were filming themselves at Nintendo World, so Disney, Nintendo, get in contact. Our email is on our YouTube page for all business inquiries. If you want to sponsor us to come to your places, you need to give us a hotel. You need to give us day passes, and we will come and we will film, and we will be like, this video is sponsored by Disney, who paid us to come out and see stuff.
Exactly, and we will advertise the crap out of your place. Trust me, it'll be amazing. You will be like, why did we even pay any of these marketing teams to do anything for us when we could have just hired these Geeks welcome guys?
God, I want to go to Nintendo Land.
Yes, Nintendo. We all want to, Nintendo.
Everybody wants to go to Nintendo Land.
Geeks are always welcome at gmail.com.
They just don't know it yet, but we can tell them.
I thought it was its own thing. It's at Universal Studios,
yeah,
apparently.
It's a Universal
I thought it was
Studios
its own thing. Huh.
So Nintendo
has entirely too much stuff.
Because I know there's one in Japan too, and so I assumed like they just did the same thing that's in Japan out here, and I figured it was just like someplace. But
So Nintendo Land is here in America then.
There is one.
Yeah.
I thought we would have to go to Japan. That's why I got excited.
The first one was. I remember that, but I also remember hearing that they were opening one in America. I just didn't know it was part of Universal Studios. That's interesting.
So yes, Nintendo, Disney, Geeks are always welcome at gmail.com for all business inquiries. Send us give us room and board and free passes for the day, and we will film and we will make a video, and you'll get like 16 views, and it'll be great.
Okay, I gotta clarify something really quick. I'm sorry. Nintendo Land is the Wii U game. Super Nintendo World at Universal Studios in California is the theme park. So, my bad.
Nintendo Land...
Don't send us the Wii game. I mean, you can send us the Wii game if you want.
Don't send us the Wii U game. I got a copy. We're good on that.
We got it. I've got it right here.
What we really need are the tickets to the theme park.
Super Nintendo World. Universal Studios Japan, Universal Studios California.
Well, gentlemen,
sorry, go back
Casey Raw is coming. Either Disney World or Nintendo, whichever it comes from.
We will figure it out. We will find a way. It will happen within the next decade, maybe.
We'll figure it out.
Nintendo.
We need more fans. Tell your friends about this channel, please.
Yes. Although, like,
they will love us.
It is great to always, because I've seen this comment on the Game Freak video and on a lot of our other videos. They're like, you guys deserve more views. It's like, you know what? I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks,
you are
Bob.
correct.
I appreciate that. Hey, if that's how you really feel, maybe you should, like, subscribe, comment, share the video. Just saying.
It is.
We agree.
Yes,
we agree with you that we need more views.
Absolutely.
That we deserve more views. We very much agree.
All right, gentlemen. I think we're in the winding the stream down portion because I need to go. I still need to finish the Atari video. It's not done yet. I'm about halfway through it. And I
saw the rock cut yesterday. It looks good. I can't wait to see the finished product.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I watched it yesterday as well. It's good.
It is, and especially at the very beginning, we say to Reckless Sarge, who I literally compiled. I think there were 16 comments on the old channel, and then one comment on our Discord for, "Hey, you guys should do Atari Honest." I literally compiled.
I didn't know. Reckless Sarge came from the old channel.
Yes, he did.
Jesus.
If you have those like screenshot, you should do the thing like some YouTube videos do, where it's like pop, like all the comments on there.
Oh yeah, I've got that on
have
there.
Them all be from the same one person.
It is all from the same one person, and a lot of the comments.
I love that.
A lot of the comments look very similar because it was basically just Atari Honest, and then there were like no thumbs up. It was just the 2 thumbs up symbols. But then there were a few comments who got like 500 thumbs up. There were one that had like a bunch of replies to it. So yes, We've got, at the very beginning of the video, it is a thank you to Reckless Sarge, all of the comments, and then the one comment that he made on the Discord, Atari Completely Honest, and it's like, well, here we go, we finally did it, it's been 7 years.
Because you demanded it, and because you specifically, Reckless Sarge.
Yeah.
I made this joke. We were explaining this to Marla about the history of this video and how Sarge suggested it way back in the old day, and I said, "This is a joke. Okay, no one take this serious." She was like, "Yeah, no, we hated that idea so much. We were like, we will run this company into the ground before we make a video on Atari."
All right.
Well, now we got to make a video on Atari.
Oops.
Look, we're out of ideas.
We're not out of ideas.
We're creatively bankrupt.
We ran the company into the ground. We make a new company. Now we got to follow through and make the video.
Oh yeah, that's true. We didn't
joke.
run it into the ground.
No,
You know what I mean. That's the joke.
I mean,
yeah.
it did get run into the ground. That is accurate.
But yes, tomorrow, either tomorrow or Tuesday, the Atari video will be up. I'm going to try and finish it tonight, and I'm debating on, I'm debating on if I want to just release it to the public tomorrow, because I was originally going to say release it ahead of time to our patrons. We don't have many patrons, but I want to be able to hold myself to a standard to be like, look, you said 24 hours, give them 24 hours, and then release it to the public. And so I might, it might be Tuesday when the Atari video is released to the public, so that we can do the patrons 24 hours ahead of time. Or if I can get it done tonight, I'll release it overnight and then do it in the morning, but we'll see. It'll be up in the next day or two.
Ian, this kind of goes back to our earlier conversation. I think the fans would rather have a delay to get a good quality product than have it rushed out early and be crap. So, you know what? I think, people understand, hey, yeah, it's good to have those, we're going to have this out on Monday, we're going to have this on Tuesday, that kind of stuff. But, if things come up and things get delayed, I think, again, most people out there appreciate hey, you make a good product, I can wait an extra day. It's okay.
So, yeah, just an FYI, over the next few weeks, after the Atari video comes out, there might be about a month before the next Honest video comes out. But we've got some sketches that I haven't released yet, and then a reaction video or two I might do. But yeah, the next Honest video is going to take a little bit, but then it'll be we'll be back on a regular schedule, I want to say around September or so. So everything is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself, buddy.
I will.
Don't worry about that WotC video. You're making it.
Oh, it's coming. I've got literally
make Dre do it.
I've got pages and pages and pages of notes. That video is going to be so.
Then Scourge, why you got to go there? Why you got to go there?
Wait
if your ex was 100% honest.
Oh Lord. Okay.
Damn.
Here we go.
I don't wanna.
If your ex was 100% honest, written by Sean Bland.
If I'm
what Sean needs to do, if dating apps were 100% honest.
Yo, for real?
Sean got some stories.
Yo,
Oh.
we probably should do that.
Look, if we can do Nintendo and Sony and Microsoft, we can totally do eHarmony and Bumble and Tinder and Grindr and
Bumble.
Yo,
Bumble
was 100% honest, because dude,
if Mingle were 100% honest, half your matches
All of
are
them.
bots from.
Literally, I have, and by the way, YouTube, you keep doing this. I will go on YouTube on my phone, and they'll be like, "You should go check out Bumble." It's like, "Hi, YouTube, I need you to understand something real quick. You see this? See this thing right here? That little gold band on my finger? Take a wild guess as to what that means." Please stop recommending
means
Bumble.
you're single and ready to.
Nah.
Okay.
Oh,
I'll bring that up later. It's I hear from the women that I know that men with wedding rings get hit on more than men with no wedding rings.
well, yeah, because they know that somebody likes you and thinks you're dependable.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
you've already been vouched for, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mindset of it's the mindset of I can do it better. Like that's the idea, is that they're going, nah, I can do this better. It's like, no, no, this means me no go. No, 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 no.
No.
Okay, okay, I like this. Then Scourge said, "Nah, I meant double entendre, and it's actually just X, Twitter. So it's if your X on pronounce, but really it's not your X, it's Twitter X."
I have tried to put together a Twitter honest video, and I'm like, I don't even know how to do this. Like I've written stuff down, I've taken notes, I've been like, it's too
Honestly,
chaotic. I can't figure it out.
I think it would just be like a video of just like Rich Worthington just like staring at his phone, going like, "What the fuck is he doing now?"
What am I supposed to do here?
Like just reacting to just random crap happening. It's just like just continuously getting alerts. Like, what the? What do you mean he fired everybody? What do you mean he hired everybody back?
Oh my god. So anyway, we need to get going, but it has been a
What do you mean it's X now?
It has been a wonderful stream, everyone. I do appreciate everyone coming out for this. We get good like audience engagement with these streams. These are very good, and of course,
make it so much
these are fun. These are always fun.
The big thing for today was definitely preservation of media. That was kind of the big topic for the day, right? So, yeah, it's probably been
just that.
Yeah,
game companies are full of shit.
Yeah,
we know that. That's why we have the 100% Honest series.
Exactly. That's why I wanted. That's why I wanted to bring it back, because I was just like, because as it turns out, anti-capitalism and anti-corporate greed never went away, and so it's just like, well, maybe 100% needs to come back.
We had to come back. We can't leave. We can't leave the companies alone. The game needs us.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you all for watching, and we will see you next time on Geeks Welcome, and stay tuned either Monday or Tuesday for Atari being completely honest.
Yeah.
For you, Reckless. All for you.
Yeah.
This is dedicated. Should put a dedication dedicated to Reckless.
I mean, I do at the very beginning of the video.
No, but then you should have it like at the end of the video, like dedicated to Reckless, and like just have the date that he originally put the one post, and then the date of this video, like acted like rest for Atari Honest video. We finally did it. It's dead now.
All right, catch you later.
All right, peace out, everybody. Bye.